It is time now for our political roundtable. Joining us is Democratic analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican analyst Ginny Buckingham. Thanks both for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Let's start with Boston's race for mayor. We have been talking about it all morning. Josh Kraft suspending his campaign after finishing a distant second to Mayor Michelle Wu in Tuesday's preliminary election. Now, that night, he said he was still in the race, but within 48 hours, he was out. Marianne, was ending his campaign at this time the best decision?
It was, because there was nowhere else for him to go. He lost every ward. Out of 272 precincts, he only won 9. He even lost his own neighborhood. Michelle Wu beat him in his own backyard. And when you spend 8 months and $8 million to lose by 49%, there is nowhere else to go. So his decision, however, to suspend lets him end on a better note, and to spend the money that he's committed to doing that does leave a better note, but it was a brutal campaign.
Ginny, Marianne touched on this. This was shaping up to be bruising, the most expensive campaign. It didn't really pay off for him, as Marianne mentioned at the ballot box. Do you think it was the candidate or do you think it was the campaign?
I think it was both and a third factor, which is the national environment that we're in. It's not often that mayor's races become nationalized, but because he was such an easy target tied to the Trump campaign, through his father, she was able to use him basically as a punching bag. And Congress gave her some opportunities to make this about a national race as well. So you can't discount that factor, that it was a tough environment to run in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the New York Times basically said that you couldn't take the son away from the father, and tying him to Trump, and Trump was so deeply unpopular in Boston.
Exactly.
But I would also add, as a candidate, the more people got to know him, the less they liked him. And that's fatal in any campaign.
Okay, so that, of course, the big story in Boston, but the big story across the country has been the assassination of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk, of course, shot and killed on that college campus in Utah. Well known for rallying young Republican voters, a close ally of President Donald Trump. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have condemned political violence, and sadly, this is just the latest example. There was, of course, an attempt on the president's life last year, the assassinations of Democratic Minnesota House Speaker, her husband. I mean, I think the country is just so shattered, deeply upset by seeing these instances of political violence and the political discourse that charges. And again, people on both sides have been saying this is really a tipping point. We really need to stop doing this. Is that realistic when you see what our politics has become, Ginny?
I think it's incumbent on every citizen, on every leader, on every political analyst, on every reporter to look themselves in the mirror and say, do I contribute to this tone and tenor? And if I do, I've got to tone it down. It's okay to disagree. We should disagree vigorously about important issues, but to other someone and make them less than human and kill them because of their political views is not who we should be as a country. I'm very heartened, just to turn positive, the young Democrats of Rhode Island and the young Republicans of Rhode Island put out a joint statement this week, and they said we come together to condemn this and to call for civility in our public debates. I give them much credit, and I think old people like me need to learn from the young people.
Yet no one should ever be killed for any reason, let alone exercising your rights under the Constitution, the First Amendment, expressing your views. That is wrong. And if we live in fear and can't express our views, then we don't live in a democracy anymore. And I'm going to take one personal note here. Ginny and I have known each other for a long time. We've fought some really hard fought battles, campaigns and everything. We rarely agree on this show and elsewhere. But for years, Ginny and I would fly in the 6 a.m. shuttle to New York City every single Monday. We would trade our seats so we could sit next to each other, ride into the city and come back. And I think in our lifetime, that was not unusual. And when we started in politics, nobody had a security detail, ever. And so all of that has changed. And we just simply have to go back a bit and use your brain instead of bullets to settle an argument.
Well, I do want to mention the political reaction that we have seen so far to this shooting. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he held a moment of silence on the House floor. President Donald Trump ordered flags flown at half staff until tonight. And he announced Charlie Kirk will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In a recorded video from the Oval Office, President Trump called Kirk a, quote, martyr for truth and freedom. Marianne, do you think that's an appropriate reaction?
the inappropriate reaction was provided by Donald Trump in that speech in the Oval Office. Rather than trying to bring people together, he condemned his political opponents and blamed them for this. And that is like throwing a match on gasoline. That is not what this country needs. That is not appropriate. And you have to count on your leaders to lead. And that's not the way to do it. And so while everyone mourns the loss of anyone, including Charlie Kirk, whether you agreed with him or not, that is not the leadership this country needs right now. And one of the reasons we're in this situation.
Ginny, do you think it's
quoting
appropriate?
him, violent left lunatics again?
Completely agree that that was a hugely missed opportunity, because we do need our presidents to lead in these moments, but there are plenty of other leaders that also did not say or do the right thing, and it's wrong.
But
Well, this is
he's
a show,
at the top.
Of course.
We want to mention this is a show about political discourse, and we welcome all viewpoints here. All right, our political roundtable continues after the break.